This is the Archangel 2210 here to talk to you about vampires and pop culture. Now, there have been a lot of vampire stuff popping up the past, 3 to 4 years. Ever since this Twilight movie, which really catapulted vampire mythology on another level. But vampire mythology and pop culture is really not. It's nothing new. Vampires have been in pop culture. Back in the '90s with Buffy and Angel, and I really like those shows because it really was close knit with actual vampire mythology, and they were more reminiscent of real vampires, especially how to vanquish them. With the whole thing with Twilight, which is really what I don't like. It divided itself with the one major factor that kind of peeved me with the Twilight version was that they don't die in sunlight. And that really peeves me because it's like that's one of the major factors. They're supposed to be creatures of the night, affected that they die in the sunlight type of thing. So the fact that they only become sparkly is kind of like, it's really stupid. Um, I'm not a fan of the Twilight books or movies. I've seen the first one; it was okay. I'm not downing it. I'm not gonna say anything bad about the film franchise. I'm just saying it kind of started this tidal wave of vampire mythos. In the sense that it kind of gave people the sense of creating their own page in the vampire mythology with a lot of different television shows, a lot of different movies that have come out since Twilight, all obviously a lot darker than the Twilight series. With shows like True Blood and Vampire Diaries. I have not seen any of Vampire Diaries, but I've seen a quite episode or two of True Blood, here or there, in season one, and it was pretty good. But like I said, everyone doing their own thing. Everyone does their own interpretation. Like in that version, they have super speed, to enhance speed. So it's like whenever someone does the vampire mythology, they always kind of change it up a little bit, and I can understand that a little bit, but on one side, I feel like they should kind of leave the mythos and go back to the roots a little bit. If you're going to have a traditional vampire, don't make it all tweeny bopper, lovesick type of thing. I don't know, because I'm really more of a fan of the Joss Whedon version of a vampire, where it's more an actual creature of the night, like Joss Whedon's version of the vampire went in the classification of demon, and that's what it really was. And it kind of over the years, it kind of got lost in translation, where it's not real. It's just really like there have been old movies with vampires, not like back in the 1920s, 30s, and even stuff in the 80s with the Lost Boys and everything. And I believe they actually made a sequel recently, a few years ago. They made a sequel to the Lost Boys. That was straight to video or something. I don't know what it's called. I'm just trying to say that I'm not there's a lot of inconsistency and a lot of there's no continuity with any of these vampires. None of them are linked together. They're all separate and fractured and broken off into all these separate things. That it's all 10 different universes of just vampires. And there's the Ethan Hawke movie, which was a few years ago, I think 2-3 years ago, where it was set in an alternate future, I think 20-30 years in the future, where vampires pretty much rule the world, and humans were a resource, and they were using them basically gasoline, they were running low on humans. So the Ethan Hawke character, he was a vampire. He was trying to create a synthetic blood to for the other vampires. So, like, very interesting. I didn't actually see it, but I was very interested by that version of it. But it's like I don't understand why Twilight caused this huge tidal wave of like vampire, you know, mythos, and I just don't understand. Like, all right, I kind of see like the fascination, like, oh, you get to party, you get to live forever and everything, but you're actually vulnerable to a lot of things, in the traditional sense, not the Twilight version. The traditional sense, you're vulnerable to sunlight, not where you turn and get sparkly. No. The real version, if you get exposed to sunlight, you burst into flames and die. That's the real vampire version of sunlight. Like, it could be anything exposed to sunlight. And the classic stake to the heart. That's, you know, the classic death for a vampire. Stake to the heart, they turn to ashes. Decapitation, same thing, turn to ashes. I don't know how else they die. I think there's a few other ways, but holy water, of course. That doesn't actually kill them. It just like wounds them severely. But and I forgot about this one. There's actually a show on the Disney Channel that's a vampire show. And I was thinking it's only a matter of time that Disney Channel was going to cash in on this too. And I actually caught it, and I actually thought it was pretty funny, and I thought it was really good. It's actually called. I'm not crazy about the title, but it's called My Babysitter is a Vampire. And it was a movie. It was a Disney Channel movie, and they made it into a Disney series. And basically, they parody the Twilight Saga, calling it Dusk. Very clever. And how those kids got all obsessed, and those kids became vampires. But again, it's like a Twilight version of it, where they could go out in the sunlight and they're not affected by sunlight, and a couple of kids turn into vampires, and it's like, and they like also in the show is like it kind of goes so into like the Buffy universe a little bit, like a Disney version of the Buffy universe, because the kid that's a friend of the vampire, he can like see visions or something, and he has another friend that could like cast spells like a wizard. So you kind of have like a small little band of friends, like one that's like a seer, and one that's a wizard, and one that's a vampire. So it's kind of like a mini little Buffy Disney universe kind of going on. So it's cute, it's funny, it's it's better than the Wizard Show. The Wizard Show is too goofy sometimes. Um, with My Babysitter's a Vampire, there's actually a little bit of suspense. There's actually a little bit of a sense of danger. Especially because this is the one thing I don't like about some of the recent Disney Channel shows. And yes, I actually watch the Disney Channel occasionally from time to time. It's, I have there's no shame in that. I actually, because I'm a fan of Disney, so I do watch the Disney Channel from time to time. The one thing I noticed is that recently, for the past like 5 years or so, they've been doing what I call the diorama set, which is basically, the camera's on one side, and then the set is just the three, like a diorama, like a shoebox diorama type of thing. And that always peeves me, because it always feels like artificial set. It doesn't feel like a real house. And you get the laugh track of like the audience laughing or whatever, and it's a generic audience laughter. It's not, there's no like actual laughter. It's just like a synthetic laughing, like on the exact cue when they want to. And I feel that's so stupid. But this show, My Babysitter's a Vampire, is actually filmed like a movie, somewhat. Not a great movie, but a movie nonetheless. I don't even know what day it's on or channel it's on, but if it's on, I say check it out. Just for a laugh, just for a good time. It's a good show. Like I said, I do like it better than the Wizard Show. The Wizard Show is too goofy. It's a little too goofy. And that's basically, the Wizard Show is basically trying to be like a rip of Harry Potter, and that was a bit 7 years late. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent right now. That's what happens when you film a video 11:30 at night. But I'm gonna wrap this video up. And you know what? I'm gonna probably ask right now, what is your view on all these vampire mythology? And, you know, are you sick of it? Are you tired of it? Do you think every version is, good, or, or different? Or how do you feel about it? Or are you just plain sick of vampires right now? Because there's a lot of vampire stuff, not just Twilight. There's a lot of vampire movies and popping up every so often, it seems like. So write a completely honest comment below what you think of all this stuff. I'm not saying just Twilight, just old, like, vampire mythology in general, in pop culture and in the media. What is your general opinion about this stuff? Leave a complete honest opinion below, and stay tuned for more random reviews, chance discussions, and random funniness on with the Archangel 2210. Thank you.